Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to spacedoutradio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, where the options are endless. Stay up to date with the S.O.R Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. Definitely want to thank you guys for coming on in tonight. We are going to have another great show here on the After Hours. It's going to be awesome. Tonight we do have our guest, Dr. Dennis Carroll. So he's an author, writer, and author, and authority on the occult and folklore. His career in all fields of the paranormal and the supernatural span over 55 plus years. So once again, a guest with the wealth of data and knowledge, and we love to pick the brains of those because I think, like I always say, I think everybody plays a big part in putting the puzzle together. Some people specialize in some things, some specialize in another. You can almost look at it as the data that we have is compartmentalized, right? Even within ufology, because we have all the answers, but there's this specific person that specializes in this and specializes in that, which is why I love to be able to have a central meeting place like the After Hours where we can hash it all out and get different point of views, and think it's going to be another great show, just to add to the others. So what I would love to do here is go ahead and get into the chat so I can see who's in here and who has decided to join us tonight. Just checked out the Cryptid Hunters, Jessica Jones over there, and my guy, Mike Long Island Bigfoot, and a lot of familiar friends and faces over there. And let me address this one real quick. Well, let me give the gold positions, and then let me tag that one there. All right, so the gold position for the night is going to go to Race Fan. Then we have the silver being to Mothman, and then we have the bronze Light Walkers, courtesy of Race Fan. Appreciate you sending the information on over. And let's go ahead and get ready to welcome everybody in. And just first off, let me just start here because I saw Little Cam 51, and I want to say, Little Cam 51, I did create the Twitch channel. It is online. It's officially there. And it's just under Mr. Rob G, no spaces, just all one word. And the channel is there, and there's actually a couple episodes uploaded there as well. Yeah, so definitely did that, little Cam 51, and welcome. Thank you for coming on in tonight. We do appreciate you for sure. Let's see. Magneticus already getting it started. Talking about Tesla's theory of 369 is based on the concept of. You got to fill me in, Magneticus. I don't have the answer to that one, but I'm sure you are schooling us tonight, and it's all welcome. This is the learning place. It's learning central, right? This is where we come together to learn and walk away with hopefully more knowledge than we came in with. You know what I mean? That's the goal and that's the purpose, and hopefully that happens. So let's go ahead and get into everyone else who has decided to join us tonight that we appreciate. And we're going to start off here with Jennifer Patterson saying, hi, guys. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful Sunday evening. Obviously, we had some Mothman in here. Hi, all. Hey, some Mothman. Thank you for coming in. We had Lightwalkers. Hello, Mr. Rob G and S.O.R. Woo Friends. Thank you for coming on in, Lightwalkers. We appreciate you coming in tonight. Just like every night, we appreciate you. We got Nicola Perry Jr. saying, greetings and salutations, fellow space travelers, and to the conductor of the Woo Train, Mr. Rob G, hanging with the Huntress until 11. Yes, I was over there with you guys as well. I had to step away and get my coffee ready, and, it's about 20 minutes early. I had to step on out and get my beverage of choice ready. So, but I do appreciate you guys all coming over from the Cryptid Huntress. She rocks it every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Spaced Out Radio. So make sure you guys tune in. We also have, let's see, Eternity Eternal is definitely here saying hi, Rob G. Hey, Eternity Eternal, thank you for coming on in. We do have Roger Murray dropping some data on us today. What do you have for us, Roger Murray? Let's see. Happy President's Day, February 20th, 1962. John Glenn, historic flight, Friendship 7, paranormal fire, flies around space capsule. To this day, don't know what it is. Interesting. I'm going to look into that. I think I have an idea what you're talking about, but I want to be sure. Thank you for coming on in, and thanks for the knowledge bomb, Roger Murray. Appreciate you. Let's see. We got Carl Bittner stepping in saying, hi, Rob, and all you spacey after hours spaced out peeps. Hey, Carl Bittner, thank you for coming on in tonight. We do appreciate you. Who else do we have? Jacqueline D. Okay, Jacqueline D. Good evening, fellow humans. I like that. And it seems like you might be a new name if you are Jacqueline. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio After Hours. You caught us here on the weekends. This is where we do the After Hours, Saturday and Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. Pacific. And then we have Dave Scott conducting the Woo Train Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight, so 7 days a week. Plus also Jessica Jones, who comes on Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific, so right before the after hours. The 7 days a week of just nonstop content. We love to have you back, so appreciate you coming on in. Who else do we have here? We have Paranormal Pixie Laura saying, good evening, space travelers. Good evening, Paranormal Pixie Laura. We appreciate you coming on in and joining us tonight. Let's have a great time. And some great questions for our guests tonight. Make sure we get some really good questions in there. And yeah, we're gonna go there tonight. So let's see what we can get together here. We have Rafin, good evening, Rob G in chat room. Good evening, Rafin. Thank you for coming on in. Brown Dwarf, thank you for coming on in. I did check you out on, can't recall the podcast name earlier today, But I caught you on there, Brown Dwarf, doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. We shall link up at some point too, for sure. Thanks for coming on in. Okay, we got Wu Train Riders DG. Everybody knows the DG stands for Derek Galloway. Hello from the future. Hello, Derek. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for showing up. Let's see. Okay. Millie De La Preda. Hi, Dennis and friends. Hi, Millie. Thank you for coming on in. Thanks for joining us tonight. If it's your first time, you will be so welcomed by our chat here. Our chat is super awesome. And if you heard me a moment ago, we have content here 7 days a week. So anytime you turn on Spaced Out Radio, you're going to find something going on. Plus, we have an extensive archive for you to jump in as well. So welcome and thank you for coming in tonight. We have Crystal J. Hello, everyone. Hello, Crystal J. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming. Let's see. Who else do we have? Heidi Pop saying, ha 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 ha, just came to stalk you tomorrow, man. We all have same YouTube schedules, looks like. That's a good thing. So we have a good family movement here, and it is so fantastic to see everyone participating in all different platforms. It's a beautiful thing. That's how it should be. That's how we're going to move the needle, is by everybody patronizing everyone, and we should see each other at all these different places. We should. So definitely thank you for that. And let's see, Cryptid Search saying hi, everyone. Hi, Cryptid Search. Thank you for coming on in. Okay, Ginger Turtle 43. What up, folks? What's going on, Ginger Turtle 43? Thank you for coming on in tonight. And let's see, Maggie M10. Maggie M10, hey, Mr. Rob, and all peace sign, cool glasses emoji. We love it, Maggie. Thanks for coming in tonight. All right, yeah, definitely. Kira I Am is in the building. Hello, all you awesome space souls again. Woohoo. Definitely. Saw you over there with the Cryptid Hunters as well, Kira. Thank you for coming on over. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate you. And let's see, Facebook user. Good evening, Facebook user. Thank you for coming in tonight. Let's see here. Okay. Sounds like something's going on. Who's calling me during the show? All right. Who else do we have? Okay, Pancho Zork. The Cryptid Hunter sent me. God bless Jessica Jones. Yes, definitely. We appreciate everything that you do for us, Jessica Jones and Spaced Out Radio. It's a big family here, and it's a beautiful thing. It's just everybody's bringing it on every level. The machine is operating as great as you could want it to, and I'm appreciative of it all. Dino Bravo fan, thank you for coming on in, saying, hey, Rob. Hey, right back to you. Jojo. All right, Jojo. Thanks for coming in. Hi, everyone. I'm looking forward to this show with at Dennis Carroll. Yeah, me as well. Like I said, we're gonna hopefully stimulate some brains and further the narrative and the conversation and open things up. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. We got Body Technician, Morning from London. All right. Okay. Morning from London then, Body Technician. Good evening from California. Thank you for coming on in here. Dragonfly, thank you for coming on in. Saying, hey, evening, Rob and S.O.R chat. Thank you for coming in. Susan Alloway. Hello, everyone. Hello, Susan. Thanks for coming. We have Lex Diaz. Thank you for coming on in, Lex Diaz. And Okay, who else do we have here? We got Van Gold. Yep, we got Van Gold. Hey, Rob and S.O.R. family. Thank you for coming on in, Van Gold. Let's see. Okay. We got Philip Baca in the building saying, suck it, but Cracula. I said it. Thank you for coming in, Philip Baca. Thanks for joining us tonight. And let's see. Scott B. Hello, everyone. Kira, Mothman, and Van Gold. Thank you for coming in, Scott B. We do appreciate you joining us this evening at the after hours. Let's see. We are almost to the bottom of the list. And okay, here we go. Doug Shelby. Hey, y'all, I'm feeling Monday approaching. My powers of perception and all. Damn it, ugh, yuck. Yeah. Hope you have a great week, though, Doug Shelby. This is gonna, come on, we're gonna put the positive energies out there, and you're gonna have a fantastic week, actually. When we talk again on Saturday of next weekend, you're gonna talk about how wonderful your week was. It is gonna be an awesome, empowering, enlightening week, and I hopefully tonight is an enlightening night for you, as I think it might be. But thank you for coming on in. Okay. Magneticus with another super chat, 693. Tesla's theory of 369 is based on the concept of reducing any number to a single digit by adding together its individual digits. I want to talk to you about that. That almost sounds like this theory that I brought to my high school algebra teacher, and she there's a whole story behind it. Maybe we'll talk about it on the call-in show. Rain C, thanks for coming on in. Good evening. Joanne Stewart from Canada, friend of Jack's. Thank you for coming on in, Joanne Stewart. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate you. If it's your first time here, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. We'd love to have you come back. We do this, once again, 7 days a week. You know, so almost 365. We have to take breaks occasionally, but this show is pretty much on every single day. Period. Every day. Yeah. So let me see here. We got political foolishness saying howdy. How you doing, political foolishness? Thanks for coming in. Juliana McGill. Thank you so much for coming on in, Juliana. We appreciate you. Silent Listen. Thank you for coming on in. Hey, Rob. Another busy night sky watching. Awesome stuff. Always look up, guys. The sky is up there all the time. Look up when you have the chance. And did I say Scott B? If not, thank you for coming in, Scott B. Browndorf. And every time I think we're at the end of the list, it appears to get that much longer, which is good, actually. Mike Arrington, thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you coming in tonight. Asimov 5W, 5 watts. Hello, S.O.R. How you doing, Asimov? Thanks for coming on in. Susan Kano. Hi, Mr. Rob G and S.O.R. folks from Northern California. That's where I am from. Welcome, Susan. We appreciate you coming in. Donna Spencer, thank you for coming on in. Hello, S.O.R. family and friends. Hello, Rob G. Paranormal, thank you for coming in tonight. Howdy, folks. Okay, Abbott Hoffman, Ocala Skunk Ape, say hi. Hello, Abbott Hoffman. Thank you for coming in. And we are Sovereign Cosmic Walt, man. Thank you for coming on in, Sov. It's been a minute. I rep the truth. I'm with you on that, Sov. It's all about getting down to the truth and, sift out all the other stuff and let's go with the truth. I'm with you on that. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Political Foolness. This is a great channel on content. Mentioning chatters is a bonus out of mutual respect. We respect you guys. Totally. You guys are just as important to the conversation as any of us up here talking. Um, no one knows more than the next, and the only way for us to really get the answers that we are trying to get to is by having these conversations, listening to input from you all, brilliant people out there in the chat and the audience, as well as guests like we're going to have on tonight in the conversation that we're about to get into. So I appreciate the comment. Political foolishness, that is an awesome comment, and it's a true one. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and get this show going. And Scott B is getting the right message out there. Please hit the like button and subscribe to this great channel if you have not done so already. We would definitely appreciate that. And what I'm going to do, because we do have our guest right here in the back, we're going to go ahead and bring him on in. Dr. Dennis Carroll. Like I said, he's a writer, he's an author, into demonology and all sorts of things. So we'll touch that because you guys know that I have some questions about the way that this narrative is going right now. So without further delay, let me go ahead and bring in our awesome guest of the night, none other than Dr. Dennis Carroll. Hi, sir. How are you this evening?
Good evening, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
All right, all right. I love having. I've listened to your talks before, and I love how passionate you are about what it is that you speak about. I think it's an important part too when we get into talking about demonology, which we'll do shortly. But if you wouldn't mind, with this being our first conversation, I always like to get to know the person. And so let's get to know Dennis and what kind of led you on this path to enlightenment. What brought you here?
Well, I can't remember a time, Rob, when I was not interested in the paranormal and the supernatural. I think I was born that way, actually. Since my earliest childhood, I can remember that. But I had an incident when I was about 14 or 15 years old. And actually, where I encountered a demonic presence, and it kind of lit a fire under me to understand what it was I saw. That's what began my journey. I was probably around 14 to 15 when that incident happened, and I'll say this about myself: I don't like just one slice of the pie, of the paranormal pie. I like the whole pie. Okay. So everything about the paranormal and the supernatural interests me. But this was one field that led me into other fields. You know how it is when you do research. You know, you go from one point A to point B and it leads you on. You get deeper and deeper into it. That's what I love about it. And, you know, I was just thinking, just listening to you just now, I wish that we could have had stuff like this years ago. You know, I'm old school from way back, and I've haunted many library reference rooms. And that was all the way you could have. You could get information back in the day. You had to read it in a book. But now you've got the internet. You've got the libraries of the world at your fingertips.
Yeah.
To me, that's amazing. That's wonderful, really. I wish we'd have had stuff like this years ago. But when I got into this field, and I got into the research and the different areas, and there are different fields. I won't list them all tonight, but there are different fields like cryptozoology, UFOlogy, demonology, the list goes on. The thing about them all is that if you connect the dots, you begin to see the patterns in these things, and they are all, in one way or another, connected.
Yeah.
And to me, that's an amazing thing. And that has always been part of the fuel that lit that fire under me, to find out exactly why this stuff is connected. And I've had many, many paranormal experiences of my own over the years. And people have asked me about that. Say, why have you had so many things happen to you. I never have anything happen to me. You know, I said I think one reason is that I made myself available
Right.
to it. I think that was one thing. You know, I was out there doing it, and you know, I've spent so many thousands of hours in haunted houses, locations, or in the forest, deep in the forest, looking for Bigfoot and dogman stuff. And I'm gonna tell you tonight a little bit. Well, if we get a chance, I'll talk about one I call Cryptid X that's out there. It's a very strange thing indeed. But wherever you want to begin, my friend, I'm ready to go
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, and that's great. So I appreciate that introduction and to how you got to where you are. I think it's very important. You made a comment about all of these different aspects of the phenomena potentially being connected, and I'm like going that way as well. When I can't be and just from a person, there was a point not too long ago, I'd say probably 7, 8 years ago, where I was not fully aware that these things were here now and that these things were happening daily. I always was open to the possibility. But the more that I get into this and the more that I talk to people, the more that I'm beginning to see the similarities in a lot of experiences, and then therefore making some connections to, wow, these things might actually be interconnected. The UFO situation, the cryptid situation, that they are on some level all connected. So when you say that, what could you elaborate a little further on what type of things brought you to that conclusion?
Well, it was the overlapping of these fields. You know, you might during spiritual research you might run into possible demonic activity. Those two are overlapping each other. I've also had cases, Rob, where UFOs have actually harassed people in almost demonic kind of way. So these fields have a strange woo connection there to them. The whole field is that way, and that's why I say you can't just segmentize yourself. Say I'm going to do only this or I'm going to do only that. You've got to take in the whole picture, or if you don't, you'll lose your perspective on it. And I have had so many cases that overlap each other and run into other types. It's amazing, and like I said, it's very well connected in those aspects. And when you do investigate, I call it investigative research. Now, there's a kind of research where you can sit in your armchair and read a book. That's research. But in true investigative research means you go out in the field looking for it.
Yeah.
Firsthand experience on it. To me, I like that best of all. Although in my latter years now, I'm more into writing books. I am into research. I'm sort of kind of semi-retired from the field, but I still go back out once in a while, definitely. But that is true investigative research. And that's what you've got to embrace when you go into this. Whatever you want to specialize in. But my suggestion is don't be too specific in your specialization. You need to be more broader in your outlook and outreach in it.
That's great advice, actually. And yeah, because I think that you should, and I think it definitely does take away when you only focus on one part of this. And maybe those people just haven't come to the realization that it's more broader than they actually think that it is. So that's a good point that you bring up. And then also the fact that getting out there and doing the research, you have over 55 years of doing this. So, you put in your time, you've done what you needed to do to uncover the things that you did. I'm one that wants to transition into being, more out there and hands-on on digging up information on what's going on. So the path that you're speaking about is one that I'm currently trying to travel. What do you have, like, what's some advice that you would have? Because I even talking to viewers, I bring that up that it's great if all you can do is come in and have a conversation. That's great. But then if you have the opportunity to do more, then it's something that you should consider, because technically, as humanity, all the data that we've compiled and all the work that gets done is just from a normal person like you or me, who decides to activate themselves and get out there and start actually gathering data. And then without those people, if you think about it, we don't really have much data except for some, experiences, which are big, but actually getting out there and putting the pieces together is kind of where what you're talking about.
Well, Rob, it is very much like a jigsaw puzzle, And sometimes, though, you may have some of the pieces that I don't have, and or
Yeah.
I might have some pieces you don't have, and that's where cooperation, comes in handy. Especially cooperation not just between podcasts, but between groups and people of interest in all these things. We need to cooperate. We need to share our knowledge. Knowledge is not any good if you don't share it. What good is it, if you can hold on to it? I think it should be spread around. The more you share it, the better it is. And that is especially essential to fields like this, What I call, we are all, here's the way I say this before, citizen scientists, so to speak,
Yeah. I like that.
That's what we're into. We're in like a birth of a new science going on here, although it may not be respected as that now. One day it may be, definitely. I think it may not be in our lifetime, but I think one day it will be a true science in that respect. But we are sort of the founders of it. We're sort of the ones who are laying the foundation for this now. And we need to cooperate. We don't need any infighting and competition. We need true cooperation between groups to get where we need to get to.
Wow. So you see it too. It's not just me. I mean, it's and the thing with that being is that and this is another thing I brought up before, that a lot of the focus when it comes to the powers that be discussing the UFO phenomena and considering or taking steps to disclose, which they will never do, but they act like they're going to disclose this information. And the first thing they do is they cut off data points like yours and mine's, and just experiences, and like you said, citizen science, cutting that out of the equation. It's obvious they know what they're doing when they do that, because this is where all the data comes from, the relevant data. None of what they're doing is going to surpass anything that we've already put together as citizens and as humanity. So they're kind of smart to do that. But how do you feel about not being included in the conversation, in the broader conversation, when it comes to trying to spread the word or enlighten the others out there who may not be on board yet?
That's true. And I've had a lot of interference from the powers that be. You have too, I'm sure you have. Anybody has a podcast, I have a podcast. Anybody has a podcast runs into that problem. Anybody that investigates research into this, they're going to run into that problem. I've had that happen to me. I talk about it in my last book that I wrote, The Road Unseen, a paranormal journey into high strangeness. I was sort of like living the Mothman prophecies there for a while. I had some freaky stuff. I had my own UFO sighting, and after that, things went really weird. And matter of fact, every now and then, they kind of let me know they're still there. That they're still watching me, and they still interfere with me in many different ways. And that's kind of part of the territory. You better expect that. If you're really stepping on toes like you should be, you're going to have that happen.
Yeah.
But in the paranormal field, we also have people who are just in it for the money and the glory. And I'm gonna tell you what, those people are not in my book. Okay, they're not on my list. And I'll tell you why. When I first went into this 55 plus some odd years ago, I'm not going to say exactly how long because I'm real old, but anyway, when I first went into this, I went in it with one purpose in mind: to help people. Is tantamount to everything. People were coming to me with these problems, and they didn't want to be just investigated. They wanted help.
Yeah.
They wanted an answer to their solution, a solution to their problem. And I concentrated a lot on that because I see a lot of these so-called groups out there, Rob. They say, "Oh, we investigated the other night. We got scared. We had a great time. We went and had drinks after that." That's it. That's all they've got. Very superficial stuff. They haven't really helped that knowledge I talked about earlier. They haven't broadened the field any. They haven't even helped anybody. People that needed help don't want you to do that. When they want help, they need help, especially when you are dealing with demonology type stuff. You've got to have a viable answer for these people, something that truly works, that really helps them. If you don't do that, you might as well leave. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, you make great points there. That I totally agree with that. I agree with you on that 100%. Now, when you get into this, so you when you mention demonology, and this actually goes back to I had a conversation on a different channel that I do as well. I have a different show as well, and we kind of talked about demons, and someone let me know, which I was totally unaware of, is that there, or when someone says that this phenomenon may be demonic, that there are actually good demons and then bad demons that are under the word demon. And I had no clue that there was good and bad, or I don't know if you can elaborate on any of that, but what is demonology to you, and what do you think we should know about that?
Well, now you got to define demonology. Now, when I talk about demonology, I'm not talking about the old medieval demonology where you try to raise demons and all that to get them to do it. That's a different kind of demonology. Demonology I'm speaking of is the actual scholarly study of how these spirits interact with human beings and how they do things. But when it comes to demonology, you can't paint everything with a broad brush. You can't go in and say, "Oh, it's a demon." You better know for sure exactly what you're dealing with, whether it truly is demonic, if it's a human spirit, or whatever the case may be. Rob, I've even seen evidence. This is going to blow your mind. I have seen evidence that people who die under demonic possession, even their spirits are still held hostage by these demonic entities. That's
Wow.
bad when you think about it, that they not only torture you through life, but into death as well. I've seen evidence of that. I've seen some freaky stuff. But it's not always demons, and I've been accused of that a lot of times. You eat, sleep, and dream demons. That's all you talk about is demons. No, you got to play that card, though. It's on the table. You got to,
Yeah.
it's just like saying, "Rob, there's a 500-pound gorilla in the room. Let's ignore it."
Right.
That's not going to work out good for a while. For a while, things are going to go bad. And you
Exactly.
can't ignore that card. You've got to play the demon card if you're going to do spiritual research of any kind. Because demons are very good at masquerading as human spirits to fool you and lead you off into different areas that you shouldn't go in. You've got to remember the demonic is a card that has to be played in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And so, one of the things that brought me into even having that conversation that day was I was pointing out how it appears that the narrative, like when you listen to some of the main faces, we'll call them, of ufology that are speaking directly or interfacing with the national media, global media, a lot of the things that they have said, they initially started out with, "Hey, there's these things in the sky. We don't know what they are. They potentially could not be from here." And then as of the end of last year, coming into this year, which seems like it's the narrative going forward, is that there is some sort of spiritual element to this that they won't elaborate on. And so that's where I get into, okay, well, because they use spiritual and then they use the term somber as well. And is this what they're talking about? Are they talking about demonic presences, or do you have any insight on that, or what do you think about that?
Well, I studied a lot of ufology. Like I said, I've had my own UFO experience. And a lot of these, I think, Rob, some of these UFO things have a smell of sulfur to them. I have to wonder if these are not images being used by the demonic, because the demonic is very, very supremely good at using imagery against us. They can take things from the subconscious mind, your fears, your anxiety, and turn them against you. That imagery is very important to them. The second thing that's very important to them is shape-shifting abilities. They can look like whatever they want to. I've seen this happen many times, and I have to wonder how many of these UFO incidences are not related to that. Because if you think about it, the demonic will say, well, that's a great image. That's something we can use and get behind. Because these entities are not stupid. They're brilliantly, brilliantly intellectual giants, you might say, in that respect, because they are millions of years old. They have accumulated knowledge that you and I will never get. They are very intelligent, and we got to remember that. And they are very good at turning things against us. And that's what makes them so downright dangerous when you deal with them. You got to really be careful because they can do all this kind of stuff to you. They could screw you. I've had people, Rob, on investigations with me who have run into demonic entities, and they would say, I got to get out of here. I can't even think straight anymore. The attacks would be on you. They will attack you four ways. You got to remember this. Very important. They will attack you mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And even demonic imagery that you see in a lot of these commercials, TVs, games, and all this stuff nowadays activates a lot of this stuff. But we've got to remember also that when dealing with the demonic, we are the ones that have to open the doors to them. They don't just bust in your door and take over, okay? They have to have a door open to them, an opportunity. And I've often said this about demons many times. They are opportunists. They never fail to take an opportunity if they get it. Or as the old saying goes, they won't take an inch, they'll take the whole ruler.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them so dangerous. But we can invite these things into our lives by our very lifestyle. We can do it by overuse of drugs or alcohol or pornography or addictions of different things, or dabbling around with the occult, playing with Ouija boards. Doing things we shouldn't do actually opens the doorways to this stuff. And I've had a lot of people ask me, Rob, they say, Mr. Carroll, can I be walking down the road and boom, I get possessed? No, it doesn't happen that way. You've got to instigate it. You've got to give them that door open, kick it open for them a little bit. That's all they need.
So, okay. And then, so you also stated earlier that these, to be clear, that these are sometimes they're demons, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're other things. So, what do you? So, let's just say someone has a UFO sighting, or even better yet, maybe abduction or some sort of contact. What about it should a person be keying in on to figure out if this is related to something demonic or not?
Well, you got to look at this abduction, especially. Abduction to me is a very strange thing. I've talked to a lot of abductees. I think some of these are implanted memories for a reason. Okay, I'm not saying all of them now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, like I said, I'm not painting with that broad brush. But some of this stuff leads me to believe they're implanted, demonically implanted memories. They're put there for a reason. But when you talk about abduction, you got to go back through folklore. Look at all the fairies that abducted people, the goblins that abducted people, all the different entities that supposedly kidnap babies and all this stuff. You've got a link going on here. That's why I say folklore is very important, because it gives us a lot of the clues we need to understand some of this phenomenon or where it's going. And that's just one part that kind of gives me that demonic smell to it, that there's something going on other than that. Now, I'm not saying it could not be aliens. I'm gonna say this: I do believe aliens exist. Probably there are millions of civilizations out there, as large as this universal universes are. That's the odds definitely are in favor of that. But are they really coming here to this little backwater planet? What reason would they have? Is this some kind of experiment going on or what? We've got to look at that as well. But I think some of this has definite demonic origin.
So, and I'll end up, I want to show this. I mean, I'm sure our viewers are sick of seeing this, but I'm going to end up showing you something because I had a shadow person incident where I actually have a really good photo of it and kind of want to see what your feelings are. Or even if you can say right now, like generally, what are shadow people considered? Are they considered demonic, or what side do they come from?
Well, many times, Rob, the demonic will manifest in kind of shadow people, beings, or whatever name you want to give them. They will manifest that way. I've seen them with my own eyes. I was attacked by one not too many years ago in an office, a doctor's office, believe it, of all places. And there was nobody in there at the time. It was closed. But it was actually a doctor's office that was being haunted by these things. And this thing appeared in front of me. Probably was about maybe around 8 foot tall, maybe 5 foot wide, and it was just nothing but a darker shadow against the darkness. But you could see it pulling darkness into it.
Yeah.
The darkness in the room was flowing into it, and it became larger. And it actually physically attacked me. It attacked. There was a guy with me. I had a witness to this, so it's always good if you got a backup witness. That's confirmation,
Right.
But it attacked him emotionally. He said he felt like the bottom of his world fell out. It took him weeks to get over that attack emotionally, but it attacked me physically, and it was very much like having a heart attack or something. It started up my leg, and I was close enough to reach out and touch it. Okay. And I could see pinpoints of red eyes in the darkness looking back at me. And the guy next to me spoke, and I could see the eyes turn and look at him. He saw them too. But this thing attacked me, and this cold numbness began creeping up my leg and started up towards my chest. That's when I rebuked it and got rid of it. I said, that's enough. I'm not gonna deal with this anymore. So I got rid of it and got it off of me. But I have seen this happen many times with demonic entities. But let me say this about shadow people, okay? There is a hypothesis that some of this stuff may be what I call walkthroughs. People going perhaps from one dimension to another. These beings going from one reality to another. They may manifest as shadow-looking type beings. That's part of the equation too, I think. So it's not all just demonic. But the demonic can do that. But I'm going to tell you the number one thing that will tell you the difference between the demonic and the shadow people that we call, as we call them, is the demonic shadow people will usually attack you physically and emotionally. The other kind of shadow people, they're just kind of walking through there like not paying attention. I don't want to go and bother you. They're just passing through doing their thing. That's usually not demonic in my book. Because when the demonic attacks you physically, mentally, whatever, like those 4 ways I said earlier, you know it's probably what that is demonic. Okay, because that's their modus operandi, you might say.
Okay, and I'm glad you clarified that because I wanted to make that distinction. I was actually about to make that point that the shadow person that I filmed, and I'll bring it up here so you can see this here. This shadow person, this was in my hallway. This is about a year ago. There's no doubt about what this is, right? This is definitely a shadow person. You zoom in on it, you can see all the head. But to your point, I have not before this or since this have any foreboding feelings. There wasn't anything that I perceive to be negative or evil that happened prior or after this incident. We recently, about a week or so ago, had some unexplained knocking, just clear as day. But that was it. Nothing insidious or anything that would lead you to believe that this would have been something evil, right? So I'm glad you made that point, because just because we are looking at something that could be considered demonic, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. And I think that's a great distinction to make. Now, I would say, where do you feel like, is this demonic in the idea that you would think of demonic religiously, like, within the church setting? Is this demonic, or is this, the definition of this, different?
You can go either way with that. That depends on what your outlook, your own personal outlook is on it. As a minister, I take it from a Christian perspective in that
Okay.
way, in that regard. But you can also look at it as sort of in a non-Christian way. This is an evil entity. This is an evil spirit. And what I was going to say about the shadow people, the number one thing that tells you, and you hit the button on that, you didn't feel that evil. You didn't pick up on it. We all have that in us, that capacity, although some of us suppress it and kick it aside, unfortunately, sometimes when we shouldn't. But we have that in us. It's a survival instinct, you might say, to know when we are in the presence of something truly evil or even truly good. I'll swing back to the good side, the angelic type thing. And we need to do a show on angels one night. You would really enjoy that, I think. But
For
anyway, I
sure.
like angelology. That's another one of my favorite subjects. But anyway, you can feel this, Rob, deep down, You don't have to have any special intuition. I think it goes with it if you pay attention to it. And I've had a lot of people who have had what we call crisis apparitions. That is someone that sees a loved one, like their mother or father that has passed. And I always ask them, I said, well, did it scare you? And said, oh, no, that was my mother, or my father. No. And I said, it made you feel good? Yes. I said, well, that was a gift from God
Yeah.
to comfort you. That was allowed to show you that everything was okay. That's a good feeling, and you feel good about that. But just like you said about this thing, you didn't pick up on that evil. And that's very, very important. Because if I have actually been in the presence and places of evil, Rob, that you could feel it as if it were a fog. It was
Yeah.
just that physical that you could feel it without doubt that you were in the presence of evil. You'll know it if you're even in tune with your body for just a little. You'll know it. Pay attention to it. That's very important, though. That's a built-in safety thing.
See, and that's good. I think explaining it this way and kind of looking at it, I mean, it just, because a lot of people out there, on the surface level of the phenomena, without really getting deep into it and separating the things and looking at all the different elements of it, a lot of people's view is that this is love and light and there is no bad side to this. But I always, say that you should be prepared for both, because likely there is more than one side to this. And then this kind of just furthers that, it kind of makes a good visual, because you can now see that you could pretty much talk about any aspect of this phenomena, and essentially there's gonna be a dark side to each part of this, but then there's also gonna be a benevolent side to it as well. So I think it's great that this is the way that it's being laid down.
Well, Rob, even the Bible says to test the spirits. Why test the spirits? To find out what you're dealing with, whether it's good or bad. And then you can take it from there if that's the situation. But you need to find out, and that's what part of investigation's all about. Investigative research. You find out what you're dealing with, and then how to handle that.
Yeah, yeah. What if you had to pick one? I mean, because you know, obviously with 55 plus years of research into this, was has there been times where you have investigated something and you're like, you know, something tipped you? I mean, obviously just like you stated, you can feel it if it's evil, but was there anything physical or anything visual that you were able to perceive in relation to something that you considered to be demonic?
Well, I've said this before. I say it again. I've seen some things that I wish I could unsee. I mean, I've seen some very horrific images that these things have put forth. I want to say this: that if you were to see their true form, probably would drive you insane. I mean, it would be hard for your mind to handle it. That's how awful these things can do. But like I say, they can attack you on such a deep spiritual level that you might not be able to recover from that. That's the dangerous part of it. And I don't like to venerate the demonic spirits or evil spirits, whatever name you want to give them. They call them the jinn or whatever name you want to give them, whatever perspective you're coming from on it. I don't venerate them because they are so dangerous, but I consider them very much like cockroaches in a house. They're pests or
Hmm.
rats that you want to get rid of in your house. That's the way you need to treat them. Don't give them any power because that's what they want. Never give your. I used to be in law enforcement, and we had a saying: "Never give your enemy ammunition."
Right.
Don't give these things power in your life. I've talked with a lot of Native Americans, and try to talk to them about skinwalkers. They don't want to mention it. They don't want to talk about it because the more you talk about it, they believe. The more attention you give it, the
Yeah.
more it will recognize you. And the demonic is very much like that. As demonologists don't even like to say the names of demons because that gets their attention and they might come to see you. So you have to be careful how you deal with these things in that respect.
And you make another great point. I mean, when you talk about the folklore and how you believe that this all goes back to those stories, and those are the stories that we should be paying attention to when it comes to this. I've said the same thing. And it's just awesome. It just shows further that there's reasons why meetings like ours happen, because they're supposed to happen and these conversations are supposed to be had. But I think for sure it goes back to the Native Americans and the stories they tell. I think are the key to figuring this out, because you know when you look at it from the outside, not even considering the whole UFO situation. Some people look at Native American stories as just that, as stories that really don't have any basis or value to them. But when you open your mind up, what you have to do in this field that we're in, then you kind of align with those Native American stories, because they actually, once you're open and enlightened, what they're saying actually makes a lot of sense, and applies to a lot of the questions that you have when you're trying to think through this thing. So,
Rob, I have a podcast called Paranormal Point of View. And you have to take that point of view sometimes. You have to take the perspective of those people. Just like you said, it's very important. A story is a story, but if you go into it and understand the culture and understand those people's perspective, you can understand where they're coming from a lot better that way. And that's the good thing about folklore, the study of folklore. I'm a member of the American Folklore Society. Folklore and superstition tell us a lot. The old fairy tales, the old wives' tales, um, they have a lot of truth to them, and we don't need to ignore them or just throw them aside because they can help us very much, especially in this field of studying.
Definitely. Agreed. So what we're going to do real quick here, Mr. Carroll, we're going to go ahead and pause for the cause as we get ready to hop into hour number 2 right here at Spaced Out Radio. So chat out there, get your questions ready and put them in all caps so that way I can star them and we can pose them on the second half of the next hour. Other than that, we'll be right back with our fantastic guest. See you in just a minute. All right, guys and gals, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. After hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, and our fantastic guest, Dr. Dennis Carroll. I wanted to ask you. I read that you are a writer and an author. It didn't really outline the books. What have you written, and kind of give us some insight into the mindset that you were in when you wrote these books.
Okay, well, the first book that I wrote was called Beyond the Shadows, a field guide to the paranormal. Well, that's where my partner at that time, he's not in the field anymore, but he and I decided to write a book about how to investigate the concepts and precepts of investigation, especially not just in spiritual research. I call it spiritual research. Some people call it ghost hunting. I feel like ghost hunting has been done to death. I like to call it spiritual research. That's what it is because you can go into other avenues as well. Anyway, he and I got together and decided to sort of do a field guide to that. How you approach it, as that term I used earlier, as a citizen scientist, how you approach this way, and the best way to investigate things. And I'll tell you, this is the way I look at it in my perspective, is to take it from a scientific point of view. That helps you to kind of try to replicate what happened and understand and document it. But also, I like to take it as from a law enforcement point of view and treat it as if it were a crime scene. When you walk in there, I let what's going on try to talk to me or tell me the story of what's going on here. You have to be very careful, Rob, when you go into these situations. You don't want to be predisposed in believing something,
Yeah,
because if the mind is tricky that way, if you believe it too much, you can make it so, and you can be fooling yourself. As
right.
Shakespeare said, "To thy own self be true," and that's very, very essential in this type of investigation. Um, you got to be very careful what your perspective is, how you take it in that way. And I wanted to lay out for people the way I do it. And it may not be the best, fantastic way in the whole world to do it, but it works for me and it works for a lot of other people. So that's why we laid it out. Now, my other book that I mentioned, The Road Unseen, a paranormal journey into high strangeness, I talk about several of the cases that have happened to me, some of the things that have happened. I talk about a wider perspective on the paranormal fields. Almost a part of the book is like an encyclopedia on paranormal stuff. But then I talk about things that are going on in the world today from a demonology slant, and not just the demonology slant, but also from the paranormal view. That's why I call my show Paranormal Point of View. The doors of perception are open to us if we'll only check them out. And that's the way you got to look at certain things. And to me, the paranormal is like a diamond. You hold it up and you can see all the many different facets and sides to it. But you got to hold it up and
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah, the whole law enforcement angle that you described actually, I think, fits really well. Also, just coming in without a preconceived notion, kind of letting the picture put itself together for you, and using logic and common sense in a lot of cases. And I'm a big fan of common sense being something that can answer a lot of the questions
Oh, yeah.
if we just take our time and kind of look through the data. So it's a great approach that you have. And another thing that you are pointing at, which I always, especially in this field, because in ufology, I feel like, and I've said this before, that I feel like there's, on the extreme sides, there could be like a religious sort of undertone, like an extremism almost. And I think it's the side of ufology that isn't open to things that fall outside of their belief systems. And I think
No,
that
that's
part of
very true.
ufology
That's
is
very
a
true.
part we have to eliminate and kind of get past.
uh I'll tell you a quick story. I had a guy call me up one night in the middle of the night, scared to death. He said, "Mr. Carroll, there's all kinds of noises in my attic. Is my house haunted? Do I have demons infesting my house and all that?" And I said, "Well, go and check your attic for squirrel nests and call me back." And so he called me back next morning and said, "You know what? I got a squirrel problem." I said, "I thought you did." You got to look at this thing from, I have a saying, Rob. When I go on to a case, I first must prove what it isn't, what it is not, before I can prove what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the way you got to look at it. That's the way you got to take it. And you can't go in, like I said, predisposed. People want to believe something. They'll make it. They'll make it that way. You can't do that because you're fooling yourself. You're not. You're not helping people. You're definitely not helping yourself.
Right.
You got to stay true to what you're actually doing and weigh the evidence and understand what it is you're looking at. And like I said, I was a big fan when I was a kid. I was a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. And I always liked the way he did things, and that's always stuck in my mind that way. And like you say, I like what you say about the logic. Logic is very important. Don't throw it out the window. A lot of people do,
Oh
unfortunately.
yeah. Yeah, and it's sad, and that's why I say conversations like this are good to have because hopefully someone listening kind of understands that, looks at it like, yeah, you know what, that does make sense. That is a great way to approach this and kind of look at it because I think we get a bad rap as a whole because we do have this extreme side that just believes to believe, and I think we have to get away from that, and that hopefully that's what I'm doing on these shows. But so I totally love the approach. Now, I did want to dip into because I know you get into cryptids, and you mentioned the cryptid X. So
Yeah.
go ahead and talk about that, and I had some other cryptid questions as well.
Okay, well, I'll tell you a quick story on what happened with that. Now, I have actually seen Bigfoot. I know he exists. I had an encounter with him. So there's no doubt in my mind that he is not a myth. Dogman, I believe exists, but I'm not sure, absolutely sure, because I haven't seen him. But I believe other people they've had some interesting encounters. I've actually seen evidence of what may have been Dogman. But then I had a very strange incident that happened to me, Rob. This has been many years ago now. I was deer hunting. I was deer hunting with my brother. Now my brother, was way off some other section of these woods. Now let me explain this right quick. There was an old farmhouse that stood in a field right next to the wood line. And I think this farmhouse, which nobody lived in for a long time, had been used to store hay or something at one time or another, because all the windows and doors were off of it. Well, me being the curious guy that I am, color me curious, uh, I had to go in there and look around. So I said, I'm gonna go look at it. I've always liked architecture, and this was one of those old classic farmhouses,
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm gonna go in there and look around a little bit. So I went in there. I had my 12 gauge pump with me, and a flashlight. But it was raw daylight. But the house, of course, had no lights or nothing in it, so that's why I had my flashlight out. So I was going around room to room looking. I remember going in the living room, and there was an old fireplace in there, but there was nothing in this house. I mean, there was no hay or anything like that time. But I could tell where there had been some animals in this house at one time or another. So I got to this back room. Now, here's the weird thing. I never have run into this before. I got to the back room in this farmhouse, and this whole room, Rob, was stuffed, completely filled with broken branches. You couldn't even walk in the room, but I
Wow.
could see through it. It was like a nest, like a big nest of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'd say, so like a rat's nest, only huge. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I saw something about that time. I could see it, but I couldn't see what it was. But I could see it. I could see the movement. Something hit the back window of this house and went out of this room. Well, I immediately ran out the front. I ran around the side, and I saw something disappearing, just the back of it, into the wood line, into the trees. Well, I looked down, and there are these prints. And these are some of the strangest prints that I've ever seen. A line of them led into the wood line. Well, I went on in the wood line looking for this thing, but it was gone. I mean, it was that quick. But I remember looking at these prints, and they were very strange. They were like cloven hoof type prints almost to a certain extent. But anyway, I'd never seen anything like it. So here's the weird part. When I went back to look at the prints, I wanted, when you cryptid hunt, you got to know all about tracks. It's very important that you know how to be a tracker on this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to look at this line of prints, and they were gone. There was no indication, and like I say, there was no wind, there was no rain. They should have been there, because this was in a stubble-like field. Because I saw them the first time. I know I didn't imagine them, but when I got back, they were gone. So I have to wonder, was this Cryptid X some type of supernatural creature?
Okay, so with that being said, that's actually a great segue into the question that I have. So when we look at these cryptids, so Cryptid X included, Bigfoot, Wendigo, all these cryptids, right? In your research, do you feel that these things live in this physical world that we live in, or do you think that they are or they are stepping across from another dimension in the moment we see them, and then they actually go back? Or do you think they full-time live in this world that we live in?
Well, the encounter I had with Bigfoot made me wonder about that, Rob. I mean, he was there, just there, and gone, and there was no way that he could have gotten away from me. Down through the trees, down through the bushes, without me seeing him, some kind of sign of him. I looked up, the tree was not up in the tree. I looked for a hole in the ground. There were no holes around there. He was just there one minute and gone the next. I don't see how a natural animal can do that. So I feel like, in my own personal opinion, something else is going on here. I mean, I don't know what. I can't say for sure if it's some kind of portal activity, if these things are transcending through realities by a portal. I don't know, but it's kind of weird. I've actually ran into a portal one time out in the woods, and it can be freaky stuff. You can have compasses going around. You hear that buzz, that feel of electricity in the air, that magnetism. Some people have encountered fogs and lost time with these things. I got to consider that, yeah, that's a good explanation for a lot of this stuff. If you weigh the evidence, the balances kind of go towards that direction.
So I mean, that's the thing that makes sense to me mostly, because I think when you talk to a lot of, especially Bigfoot researchers, and they claim to have been gone in the woods, deep in the woods for extended periods of time, trying to track these things down, and no one has been able to find a home base. You find structures and things of that nature, but never a home base. And it just makes more sense that they would be potentially stepping over from another realm into ours, the same way that we would do if we had the ability to step through a portal. We would most likely step through that portal, being humans, and then end up in this other place and then cross back over. So it just makes common sense. It's just logical that would be what was actually happening. And then, like you said, it would explain why these things are able to just be seen one moment and then disappear the next. Dave Scott had a pretty interesting theory on it as well. He talks about how, and I always get this when I try to explain this, re-explain it, I explain it wrong. But he points to, like, I guess, polar bears that have, like, their hairs are their hairs are clear or empty, translucent.
Yeah.
And that because those type of hairs absorb color from around them, that this is a theory, one of his theories on why they're able to blend in or kind of just disappear before your eyes, that they're actually blending into the background surfaces, which, makes sense to me. But if I were to guess, I would say I would put it maybe some of that along with the fact that they can just step out of this existence pretty easily.
Look at the chameleon, Rob. It can blend into its background very good. It's made that way. Look at the structure of birds. They are made to what? Fly. Fish are
Yeah.
made to swim. These things are adapted to the things that. What if what we're talking about here are actually walkthroughs from other dimensions? That would make perfect sense when you think about it. Like you said, it's very logical. It is. To me, and having studied the paranormal all these many years, this leads me to believe that this would be a more viable conclusion to this. That these things are using or utilizing some type of portal of some sort or something like that to move from place A to B, but they can also blend into their background. You've heard of Glimmer Man, I know.
Yes.
I had an encounter with Glimmer Man where I saw him part the trees on a completely windless day. That tree parted. There was something there that I could not see or perceive with the human eye. Okay, would that have been? This could Glimmer Man actually be Bigfoot doing his thing, and we don't see it? You know what I'm saying? Or Dog Man, whichever one of these cryptids it may be. We've got to wonder if that's what's going on. And polar bears. Speaking about polar bears, are so smart. They know that the only thing black on them is their nose, and they will cover their nose when they're hunting, or put snow over their nose. They're very smart.
Mm.
We think just because we have the arrogance of intelligence, but
Yes.
that's very arrogant in my book, because these animals are a lot more smarter and more intelligent than we give them credit for. And if they were able to be able to do something like that, like the Wendigo of legend, who can supposedly take on shape-shifting forms, would that not be, and I know without a doubt, I can tell you this right now, that the demonic can do that. And if they can do that, maybe other things can too.
Right. Yeah, I mean the thing is that, and that's the great part about this, is that no one knows. So, we get to sit down with the data that we have. We get to speculate, spitball, and see what sounds most logical. There'll be a point, obviously, when we will hit that moment where we understand what is actually going on, and I hopefully, will be able to at least see that, but I know at the very least my descendants will. So I know the work that we're doing right now will pay off for them in helping them understand this world better than we did. But I think we're on the right path, or we're at least taking the right path in trying to break down the data and kind of parse out the data. I have yeah.
It's like they say, Rob, you don't get the answers if you don't ask the questions.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. And here's one more thing. I was just thinking about the shadow thing that you saw. Whenever you see something like that, and I've told this to people, I've had a lot of experiences in this. Whenever you see something like this, there is one question that will haunt you the rest of your days. If that is real, if that exists, what else is out there?
Dennis, that's literally my whole point. And I feel like, and I said this maybe a couple weeks ago, I feel like, some people have experiences and they don't get the data. They don't capture the data for whatever reason. They didn't have the camera. It just wasn't convenient. They didn't think to do it. But in each of the situations that I've had that have related to paranormal or extraterrestrial, I have the receipts. So for some reason, I was put in a position to actually capture the data and then have it to show like today, and show over and over again something that you can clearly see is something that's a lot of people say is impossible to exist. but I have it and I'm able to show it to you. So every day that's the path that I'm on. Something like this happens, and I say to myself, if this is possible, what else? I mean, it just opens up everything that everyone is talking about to be impossible. And I always point to the guy who's on the corner who we perceive as crazy, that's sitting there talking to himself, and we don't get why he's doing that. But but once you start going down this path and you start realizing that we don't understand really what's going on, then you just look at everything differently. And I look at that guy on the corner talking to himself, wondering, is he really connected, or he may be connected to something that I'm just not at that frequency at this moment. So, yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because I say that often.
Well, and here's another aspect of it, and I've said this many times before, and I'm not trying to be mean about this, but I'm say this very quickly. As a paranormal investigator, it's not my job to convince you of anything. Okay, it's not my. I can
Right.
show you pictures, I can tell you stories all day, I can give you collaboration, but it's still at the end of the day, that's not my number one job. I
Right.
can present to you the evidence that I've accumulated, and even tell you the conclusion I've come to, but it's your job to believe it,
Right.
whether you
Right.
believe it or not. That's up to you. I'm not going to fossilize you and try to get you to believe something, force it down your throat. You have two brain cells you can rub together. You can come up with it yourself. That's not my job.
Right.
But my job is to try to learn exactly and try to understand what's going on. And a lot of times, just because we can't see something our own selves or experience it for our own selves does not mean it does not exist
Right.
or it's not real.
I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. So let me get. I got a couple questions here real quick. I have War Criminal 7 who is asking, Dennis, do you think just going and looking for cryptids or doing paranormal investigations is in a sense giving consent to the darker entities?
Well, you have to be very careful with how you approach this subject, like anything else. If you become overly obsessed with it, that really gets their attention, and you don't want that. You got to take this from a scholarly, professional point of view. You know, you've got to always maintain that professionability and that scholarly look at it from the outside in that respect. You can try to understand it by changing your perspective on it, but you don't want to give it power over you in whatever respect it is that you're going in. You got to maintain that professionability no matter what.
All right. And we have Blades Creature. Is this a question? Let's see. Doesn't mean everything is a demon. Okay. Yeah, Glades Creature wants to know, good and evil exists. Does it mean everything is a demon? Maybe things could be one or the other, and only that or both, or one may be deceiving.
Well, like I say, you've got to try the spirits. You've got to test them to see exactly what it is you're dealing with. Then you can take it from that perspective. But not everything out there is bad and evil, and not everything out there is good and bright. Okay, you've got to remember that, and you've got to be very careful at how you approach it, because the put it this way: the good is straightforward, but evil is very deceptive. That's just its very nature.
All right. And we have Sovereign Cosmic Wildman asking, do you think the albino Yeti type Sasquatches that are seen everywhere are something else?
I have, like I said, I've studied a lot about the Yetis. As a matter of fact, John Keel actually had a Yeti sighting back. If you need to read one of his books, it's called Jadu, where he actually went to the Himalayas looking for this stuff. And it was not white, by the way. It was sort of brown, sort of a cinnamon colored type of a Yeti. The Yeti that exists in the higher Himalayas may be the white-looking type Yetis. But as for some of these other things, I think there's a possibility they could be. We have albino deer, we have albino wildcats. The possibility you could definitely have albino uh, Sasquatch. It's not that far fetched.
Okay, and let me make sure I'm getting all the questions here. Okay, all right. So we have Isabeth saying, Rob, where the Baroque Gothic cathedral architecture comes from, where did it come from? It just seems to appear on the world scene remarkable. Are you familiar with that?
Well, I've always loved architecture, studied a lot of different architectural types. And I think architecture, like all the rest of humanity, is influenced by its current thought processes. You got you got the Greek, you got the Roman, you got the different types of the Baru and all these others. I think that was the mindset of people at that time. And that's the one thing about modern architecture. It's so bland and plain. It has no character to it. Have we lost our character down to the time? It makes you wonder.
Definitely. We have Rain C asking, has anyone ever found a dead body of any of these creatures, like the Sasquatch and other cryptids?
Not as I know of. Actually, there have been reports, but they're all hoaxes most of the time. I remember one guy filled a Bigfoot suit up with dead possums and tried to pass that off. As far as I know. But if you ever find the body of one, you will be an instant millionaire, or you better be careful what you do, because somebody else may be wanting it. I have heard many reports, and I've actually had government harassment during Bigfoot hunts. I believe without a doubt, the government knows they are out there. I believe they can weaponize some. They weaponize anything they get a chance to.
True.
I believe without a doubt you might have a problem getting that body back if the government knows about it.
Okay, we have Sovereign Cosmic Wallman asking, the Jaguar is said to be a Nephilim spirit, and so is the wolf or dog man. So are cats and dogs a representative of the Nephilim?
I don't think so, really. Actually, this next Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a 2-hour seminar on my podcast, Hunting the Shadows. And it's going to be on at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time next Wednesday night. I'm going to do a 2-hour seminar on Nephilim, children of the fallen. And the Nephilim are still with us, but just not in the way that people think. You might want to tune in and listen to that. But anyway, it is a fascinating subject, the Nephilim. Too big of a subject to cover here quickly with one question, but I will say this: it depends on the situation. The Nephilim can utilize a lot of different things, so you have to, if you come upon a jaguar with glowing red eyes, then I would say you might better think twice about that.
All right, and Rain C is just making a statement on the question from earlier, stating, well, if no bodies have been found, that would further the convo on them being interdimensional. Makes sense, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another thing that's a possibility too, not just the interdimensional thing, but it could be that if, like, say, a Sasquatch or a dogman dies, they could get rid of the body themselves. It's so like the elephants. The elephants in Africa have graveyards. They actually go there to die. The same thing with the salmons. They go back upstream to spawn and die.
Yeah.
Things know when death is coming on, they can handle it. And that could be one reason why nobody is ever found, or they could be covering it up very, very good.
So there's a question here. Let's see.
That's
Dennis
the Cryptid Huntress. That's my good friend, the Cryptid Huntress.
Yes.
My paranormal sister, by the way, as I call her.
Shout out Jessica Jones. This is Dennis has the best shows. We had JoJo who was asking, Dennis, do you think the men in black are still keeping track of you?
Oh, without a doubt. They let me know every now and then. They buzz my house. I've actually had black helicopters fly over my house. But they buzz my house and government cars every now and then, just let me know they're still there.
And I think you made a good point too. I think it's proven really that whenever you have someone that is speaking about enlightening humanity as a whole and kind of potentially threatening the whole power structure that is currently here, that you are going to be the focus, and you're going to be on the radar. But you have to understand that, know that, and still be willing to do it, even though you're at risk. And I feel that too. I don't know if they've necessarily put me on their radar at this point, but I know that the type of conversations that I have with guests and with viewers, I know they don't like it. I know they don't like it. They don't like any
No.
sort of unification and awakening of a large group of us. They love to see us in this divisive state that we're in currently, though, where everyone has their own camp, no one's coming together. But the moment that they see us get past that and we start unifying this thing, they're really going to come out. They're really
Yeah,
going to
they don't
come
like
after us.
that. They want to keep us segregated. They want to keep us separate. That way you can rule over people easier that way. I call it pigeonholing people. They want to keep you in that certain little pigeonhole, and that way they have more power over you. I know what they're up to, and I know how they operate, and that's standard operating procedure for these type of things. And they want to keep us divided because united we would be a power to be reckoned with.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Once we realize what the game is, I mean, a lot of us do realize, and that's the other thing. Like the way it's currently structured, we all start waking up later in life, and or going through certain experiences or situations. But our groundwork right now is going to make it to where we have generations coming up down the line that will be born with the knowledge that they need from day one, so they won't have to go through the paces that we went through to finally one day realize that, hey, this isn't right, what's going on here. They'll know if they won, and it'll be a totally different place, and it'll be from your 55 plus years worth of research, and then
And,
whatever I
and
can bring to the table.
we got to realize too, Rob, that we are slaves to the system. From the cradle to the grave, we have invisible chains on us. Okay, that's the way they want us. And sooner or later, one generation is going to have to step up to break those chains forever, because these are chains of slavery that we are born with. They are put upon us. We don't ask for them. We're not victims of circumstance. This is a design,
Yeah.
okay, and this is implemented upon us. And hopefully one day, like you say, when the real awakening comes, these chains will be broken for good. But that system is what our enemy is. That's our true enemy, whether it be aliens behind it or the demonic behind it. And I think that's one reason a lot of this stuff is going on. The demonic has plans for humanity that are not good at all, okay?
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about. It is a plan. And it's nothing random going on here. This is all meant to be this way. And we've got to realize that. We've got to wake up to that realization one day, hopefully, before it's too late.
Oh yes, totally love it. You're speaking my language. We got Jessica Davenport coming up asking, "Do you have any idea what glowing teal-colored eyes are? The animal was a coyote."
Well, it depends. Like I say, you've got to be very careful what you're looking at and what you're understanding this thing to be. If it's glowing red eyes, most of the time, I got to say that would be demonic, okay? That would be a sure sign. Oh, it could be glowing white eyes. It doesn't, you don't get stuck on the color here, okay? It could be different things, but if anything unnatural, that's what this is all about. If it appears to be unnatural in any way, then you need to question that and what the circumstances are. The demonic can take on many forms. It can look like animals. I've seen them look like little children. They can do different things to try to fool you, or to create anxiety or negativity, because that's what they feed off of. The more negativity they create, and if there's some animal you're afraid of, that's what they're going to appear to you to look like. If you're afraid of coyotes, that would be the perfect image they'd want to use against you. You got to understand that might be what's happening, or it could be real coyotes. That's what you got to understand. You need to find out very quickly what you're dealing with.
Definitely, definitely. And let me see. You guys have, if you guys, I think there's one more question here. Just know we have about 20 minutes left. So if you want to get your question in, definitely put it in caps as soon as possible so I can tag it and go ahead and ask those questions. So, yeah, so with that being said, yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, the reason why I do this is to make sure that the conversations that we have are going to be ones that, at the end of the day, someone who's sitting there listening tonight or who may listen at a later time can walk away with at least a different way to look at things. And like you said, you have some of the answers that I don't have, and vice versa, and that's why we come together and have these conversations to share the information. And hopefully we get a lot more people out there that are willing to. And for me, it's just financial reasons, really. And I'm way on the west coast of the United States, so to go east obviously is traversing the entire country to get there. But yeah, I intend on being one of those that are out there trying to help get the answers and trying to move the needle. So I just feel like it's really important for those out there. You coming here and listening and being part of the conversation matters and goes towards that. But if you have that ability to kind of put some action behind some of these ideas, then it'll just help us get there that much more quicker.
And and this kind of media that we're on right now is a really godsend thing, because we can, like you say, we're separated by thousands of miles, but yet we can still communicate. We can transfer ideas. We can share knowledge, and that's very important. And I think that's the most important job these podcasts, the shows like yours, are doing, is getting this stuff out. And Rob, about 40 years ago, what you and I are discussing tonight, they would have probably threatened to put us away somewhere.
Yeah.
They said we were big crackpots, or we were crazy or something. They need to put us somewhere. But now you've got a different attitude. It's out in the open. People can discuss and talk about this. It's wonderful. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about being called a crackpot anymore. Um, and this is good. This is good. There's everything good about these types of shows. Nothing bad.
And one of the
It's
things that
done the
I
right way.
And one of the things that I do often, and because I've come into this with the middle of the road approach, which means I'm not set one way or the other. It just really depends on the evidence that we get, that kind of leans me to either side. And I always have to give myself checks every now and then just to make sure that I'm not letting my biases kind of overtake, because I've had experiences now, and making sure I'm still middle of the road. So I kind of recalibrate myself every so often to make sure that I'm not too far left or too far right when thinking about this issue. And I think that's an important thing for people to
That's the
consider and kind of do as well.
that's the way I've always approached this stuff, Rob. I've always envisioned in my mind a scale balances, you know, and I've always tried to keep it balanced and keep it that way. That kind of keeps my direction where it needs to go and keeps me balanced. And that's what I said earlier about how the demonic attacks you the four different ways: spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. If you balance all of that, if you work on being balanced with those four ways, you are much better and stronger spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally. That's what you need to work on, and that helps you keep your perspective where it needs to be. and to approach things in the right way. But we need to all work on our balance on that.
Yeah, and I feel it's even more important for uh, it's important for everyone to do it, but I think it's more important for the people who are on platforms like mine's or yours, who speak to a group of people to keep that balance and make sure that you're always calibrated. Because what you'll end up doing, whether you realize it or not, is if you're too far left or right, you'll tend to drive your audience that way as well, which does not help this conversation that we're trying to have. Everyone needs to be calibrated and in the middle of the road so that we are accepting to all information that's provided, and that we look at it fairly and we vet it using a fair process. But yeah, you have people that have leaned too far to the left or right, haven't calibrated or checked themselves, or don't care to do so, and therefore the audience that they have, they're leading them down this path that isn't going to help us out in the long run. So,
Yeah.
with so many words,
That's what I say. I say that I have a little saying I say at the end of my shows, and that is veritas and Akitas, which means truth and justice. And those are the two things you got to watch for. You don't want to spread rumors. You don't want to spread lies and half truths. You want to keep balanced on that truth as much as possible. You can make conjecture. You can wonder about things, is this way or that way, but let people know that you are conjecturing about that. You're not giving them gospel here. And that's why I say it's not my job to convince you of anything. You've got a brain. You can assemble it for yourself, and that's the way you need to take it. We know. Hey, here's what I've always said, Rob. You don't talk at people. You talk to people.
yes,
You talk with them.
yes, that's how you further the conversation. And this goes to, I just want to show this because SG Nav Spotter said this, and I think it's important because just like as you said earlier, and I've always said, there's a portion of this community that just solely isn't being truthful and kind of just does this for the financial aspect, and doesn't help humanity as a whole overall. So SG Now Spotter says someone out there said 90 some percent of most YouTube sightings is for entertainment purposes. Agree or not agree? I don't know about that percentage. That seems pretty high, but I would definitely agree that there's for sure a grifting portion of this community that only might make things up for clout or views or something of that nature. It's for sure that's happening. So that's my answer. What do you say to this question?
Always remember what Edgar Allan Poe said. Okay, believe nothing that you see and half of what you hear. That's the one way you
Yeah.
got to take it. You got to be very careful what you believe and what you take in. And those four ways I talked about, I call those the gates to your soul. Okay, be careful what you bring in. Make sure it's truthful and good and something honest about it. And it's not dark and insidious and evil. Keep that stuff out. You'll have a much better life. Okay, but you got to guard those ways very well, and you have to be very careful. You don't want to deal in nothing but lies and rumors and illusions and all this other stuff. That's what the enemy wants. They
Exactly.
want us. They want us to walk in muddy waters when we should be looking for clear streams to wade in.
I like that. I like that. I like that one right there. Okay. So we have Ian McFadden posted a question here. Do you think our tech is catching up on the paranormal?
I think it's kind of overwhelming it sometimes. I think they're depending a little too much on the tech. I used to have a dog I would take with me on paranormal investigations because I could trust that dog. He's not going to lie to you. He was more accurate than scientific instruments. He would only tell you what he felt. I think we have to use like you said earlier, our common sense is a very important tool here. And I think our intuition and what we feel, we need to listen to ourselves more and not worry about these instruments that we have. Although I'm not going to say anything bad about some of them. Some of them are good instruments, so they do help you, but don't base your whole thing on the instruments. You got to use your mind, you got to use your body and your soul, your spirit. Get in touch with that.
All right, and I have someone that wants to let you know something. So Izzy Beth is stating that, Pastor, I am post-Christian, and I really appreciate your positions and delivery. Thank you.
Quite welcome.
And let me see. Okay, we have about 9 minutes left, guys. Any questions? Go ahead and get them in. Get them in. I'll give you guys a moment here. Yes, Van Gold asking, is Dennis a doctor? Then we should be calling him that, right? Right, that's where we have you listed, right? Dr. Dennis
Well,
Carroll.
I am a doctor of metaphysics. That's why they call me that. But I'm also a doctor of divinity, a doctor of philosophy, and a doctor of theology. So I guess you could call me a doctor.
There
I
we
don't go
go.
around pushing it. I don't go around pushing it, but there you go.
There we go. There's respect where respect is due. So yes, exactly. So let me see here. Okay. So we don't have anything there. Okay. Well, with that being said, unless another question comes in, go, okay, we had one right now. Let me see. Dennis, any spiritual protection tips when out in the field?
Well, on any investigation, whether it be cryptid, UFO, whatever the situation is, I always do a prayer of protection going in and a prayer of protection going out. It's good to ground yourself spiritually for what you might run into. You don't do that. Doesn't happen every time. A lot of people don't understand in this field. Everywhere you go, every case you have is not usually haunted or it's got spirits with or whatever the situation. You're not going to run into demons every time. No, but you've got to be prepared. It's just like, if it looks like it might rain, you want to wear a rain jacket. And that's the way it goes spiritually, too. I have been in situations where I thought nothing was going to happen, and that would be one of the worst things you could run into. But then I've had other situations where I thought it was going to be very bad, and nothing panned out. So you never know, but you need to be like the Boy Scouts of old. You got to be prepared. So prepare yourself spiritually, and it sort of puts a bumper of protection around you.
Great advice here. And we have Rain C, who's hitting us with Dr. Carroll. Do you believe the Antichrist is walking among us?
I believe his spirit is definitely here with us. I believe he may be here now, but I know without a doubt his spirit, which is tied directly in to Nephilim, that's what I'm going to be talking about Wednesday night, is here with us definitely today, big time.
All right. And Magneticus, appreciate the awesome super chat and your support of Spaced Out Radio. Don't meddle with things you do not understand. Okay. Great advice, Magneticus. With the numbers, the 9, 3, and the 6.
That's very much like the thing about dragons. Don't meddle with dragons because they're crunchy and you taste good with ketchup.
All right. We got Prince Arcane asking you, has anyone been injured having been touched by Bigfoot or Dogman?
Oh, I think a lot of people have been more than injured. Some have been supposedly massacred by these, especially by Dogman. Bigfoot, on the other hand, Bigfoot always strikes me, and this is just my own personal opinion, is more benevolent. He's sort of like, you don't mess with me, I'm not going to mess with you kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Dogman, on the other hand, I don't know about that. I don't know if he's going to cut you a break or not. And I've had people ask me a lot about this, Rob. What's the big difference between Dogman and a werewolf? A werewolf is a werewolf because of black magic. Okay, that's what makes him that dark, evil magic. Dogman is Dogman 24/7. But Dogman might cut you a break. A werewolf never would. A werewolf's going to destroy you no matter what. That's just the attitude you run into. But I would not want to bank on Dogman not doing that because I've heard some bad things about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and even with Bigfoot, I know earlier tonight, Cryptid Huntress was talking about you don't want to get in a sleeping bag because you'll become a Bigfoot burrito. And when I thought about that, I said that doesn't sound good. It sounds like it's delicious, but it doesn't sound like it would be good if I were the Bigfoot burrito. So, with that being said, we have Poncho Zork wanting to know, can demons manifest themselves as gas? So I guess in a gas form.
I don't know exactly what it would be. Gas, a compound, a chemical compound of gas. I have seen them form actually as sort of smoke or like a fog kind of a thing. In that respect, they could take on different aspects. Very much like the old vampire movies. You know, you can see the vampire turn into smoke and go up under the door. The demonic is very much like that, but I don't know if it would be considered gas. But I don't know. You never know.
All right. And then the final question tonight from Paranormal, saying, I recently heard a theory that dogmen are a form of Nephilim. Your thoughts?
I will be actually addressing that Wednesday night on my seminar on the Nephilim. I think there's a direct tie-in to some of this, to the Nephilim, the children. That's why I title it Children of the Fallen. I think the actual subject of the Nephilim goes into, like I said earlier, we talked about in the first hour, the overlapping of these different fields, okay? You're going to see that. You're going to hear about that Wednesday night. Nothing happens. We're going to talk about how these fields overlap and why some things are present in this world.
Well, I will be there. Awesome stuff. Glad to hear that. And I guess we have a few minutes here, so if you could tell everybody where they could find you and where they can tune into this episode coming up on Wednesday.
Okay, my books are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Just look up DennisWCarroll.com. And my website is DennisWCarroll.com. You can reach me at my Gmail, DennisWCarroll@gmail.com. My podcast is Hunting the Shadows. That's every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then every Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Paranormal Point of View. And both of these can be found on Hunting the Shadows podcast YouTube channel.
All right. Hunting the Shadows YouTube channel. Actually, Mothman, I don't know if you're able to post that link in the chat. If you are, I really would truly appreciate that. And yeah, so with that being said, Dr. Dennis Carroll, another great conversation. I think once again, conversation that we had, I think in the long run will definitely help out, even if it isn't someone watching live tonight, someone who comes across this a month from now, 2 months from now. I think the value is there for them, and at least I think the mindset, it will help the mindset of a lot of people when approaching this phenomenon, trying to figure this thing out. So I appreciate you coming on with me tonight, and we definitely have to converse even more going forward. So I'd love to have you back.
Anytime.
And let's definitely, okay, for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and give it up for Dr. Dennis Carroll and let him know you appreciate his time tonight. With that being said, Dr. Carroll, you have a great rest of your night. You take care. And for everyone else, we will be jumping in hour number 3 right here at Spaced Out Radio. See you in just a moment. Hey everybody, welcome back to After Hours, hour number 3, with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And we are going to be getting into what we do in hour 3, which is on Sundays. We bring in our paranormal reporter, and I think everybody knows who that is. It is our guy, Travis Moostus. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the guy in because, yeah, it's about that time. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, the man with the plan, the man with the voice, the man with the smile and the energy, Mr. Travis Moostus. How are you, sir? Long time, sir.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks. How's it going, Rob? How's it going, everybody? Glad to see everyone. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, yes, yes. We're so glad to have you back, man. We just want to see you. We just want to see you, man. So, regardless of what you got to talk about tonight, man, you can talk about anything you want to tonight. We just want to hang out with Travis tonight, and everybody in the audience is saying hi, Travis. What have you been up to? I know you've been on Tuesdays and dropping the knowledge on Dave Scott. And these are short weeks, obviously, so I don't anticipate that you have a lot of new stuff since Tuesday, but did you have anything you wanted to go over specifically tonight, or you just want to hang out?
Yeah, I'm here for the time. I'm flowing with the universe here, and yeah, it's we're chatting, we're hanging out. Dave Scott, is it's always excellent. He always has wonderful questions, hard hitting questions that I just I enjoy taking the time for. So other than that, I've been busy with. I just released a new book out there. It's been a work in progress for a while now, and just finally I'm happy that it's complete and it's out there.
Yeah, let me bring that up actually, because I saw you sent that over. Want to bring that up on screen here.
Excellent.
Let's see. It is. And let's put it in the chat. Let me see. Get the link. All right, guys. Okay, so Travis, they're asking for a mic check on you. If you would, they mind bringing your volume up a little bit. Tim Osman says he can hear you just fine, and I can, but some people are saying you're low. So let me see. Okay, so we got the new book out here, right? And guys, actually, this is what I was doing, posting the link for it here in the chat. So there you go. There is the link to the book here, Palladian Guidance, written by Travis Willier Mustus. If you wouldn't mind talking about the book, let's go ahead and get that promoted.
All right. So this is a lovely sci-fi tale that's really following a lot of the Palladian Andromedan side of the galaxy, and it's like it goes into a lot of this guy's brought into a mothership spaceship that has actually a Palladian city inside of it, and it goes through quite a bit of things there, and it kind of follows that essence of alien beings and meeting the Palladians and just kind of his encounter, big encounter with them, right? And like I said, a lot of this is taken from my experiences with them. A lot of this stuff that like I reference in there is from my experiences when I've seen and did my journeys out there with them, and a lot of the stuff and the technology that I experienced when I was out in these things and doing these kind of exploration. And it's like I said, it's in there, it's within the story, it's embedded. As I was saying, like the art itself, I did it's like well over 70 pictures in there, fully illustrated art that's it's all around, it's all like I say, it's very I should say the information just kind of flows through it, right? So it's like you'll see what I mean when you check it out. But so the online, the ebook is a lot cheaper than the paperback. Paperback is sold with premium color and premium paper. It is like I said, it is illustrated. But I do plan to release a paperback that is black and white version for even more reasonable price than what it is there. But but as I was saying, the ebook is the same thing, and it's you can get it on Kindle Scribe for free and check that out yourself, and or you can buy it for the reasonable price of $10 or $9, I'm pretty sure. And like I said, it's a wonderful sci-fi. It's 200 and something pages long, and there's a lot of Palladian information in there. It's like I said, it is a tale. It's not so much information like where it's like a workbook or anything. Like it's more or less for readers enjoyment kind of deal. So I hope everyone out there enjoys it and checks it out. And hopefully likes the art as well. And I'm just happy that it's out there and just available for the world. And like a lot of the pictures in there, the crafts and spacecrafts and things. And
Stargazer wants you to know that the cover art is cool, and I agree. Let's see. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, and then I don't know if you're able to kind of go into detail, but from what I understand, Palladians are one of the type of ETs that are out there. Are you able to, like, for someone who just doesn't know what Palladians are you able to kind of just give them a brief little description of who they are or what they are?
Yeah, they are a very similar humanoid race that has actually a lot of ties to us from ancient times. This goes back in ancient times, like even like Atlantis. They were around on our planet and doing trades and different things, uh, and it even goes back even further to just them popping around in and out of our existence, like throughout time. They visited our planet in a number of places, like all over different earthly tribes. Like, but as a Neo and Newok, we've had a few experiences with them. We have a few legends of this, of these Pleiadians coming down and showing us a couple things, or people, interacting with them in the legends and talking about how they were very fascinated by our earthly connection and plants and animals, and like they actually, some of them were very interested in a lot of the animals out here, like hawks and different white, like the buffaloes, they were very interested in and stuff like that. But as I was saying, though, they're very humanoid. There's many different kind of Pleiadians. They've had their own space conflicts throughout over the years. Like they have to deal with themselves before they were able to join the Galactic Federation of Light Worlds, that and become a part of that council. And like I said, they had to go through their own battles and actually sort each other out, because there was a lot of different kind of Pleiadians that had different outlooks. Not just it's not just all love and light for them out there, but yeah, there's a lot of that in that book, and talking about just like I said, their connections, and like I said, in terms of like our people and how we've been like I should say traditionally like told about them, and I should say like my connection with them was it was very strong because of that. And like I said, I was connecting with a lot of higher, well, I should just say beings of that light force out there in that energy field, like the higher vibrational fields. And yeah, they were able to communicate back with me and make that bridge, that connection. And then I had a lot of very different experiences, and I learned a lot about them. But there's a mixed race. Like I said, this Pleiadian group that I've been interacting with is Pleiadian Andromedan. And they, like I said, it's a very mixed race. There's many different alien beings from all walks of the universe that interact with them. And yeah, it's a very open kind of like sector of the universe in that sense, like in terms of trade and just a conglomeration of different aliens, I should say.
Let me ask you this: are Palladians, are those? And I did kind of briefly went over some of a handful of the species that they say are out there. But the Palladians, are these the ones that a lot of people say are walking amongst us, like current day? Are these the same ones, or is it? I know there's more than one supposedly type that looks like humans, but are they the ones that are walking amongst us? Do you know?
They could easily, and they would totally blend in. They just have to wear some earth stuff, and they would totally fly like in our crowds and look just as they're pretty much just the same. There are other forms of Pleiadians though that some of them do have like different kind of like skin colors and different kind of like hair colors and different. Some of them do have like a larger. Like they'll have like different hands, like they'll be like kind of like that, but they're like one whole finger, like they'll just have like 3 digits, and but they're just like real like thick hands. And but like I said, there's like so many different kind of like Pleiadians on that in that area, in that sector that I was like dealing with. But the ones that I was really encountering were pretty much the same as me, and it was like kind of like on that level of like they wanted just a familiarity, like to know that like we're not just the unique ones out there,
Okay.
And to be more comfortable with that in that sense. So
All right, and I wanted to show you this because Vaughn went in and again showed some love for Spaced Out Radio and for Travis, and it's saying, Travis, when you come down, contact Dirty Filth, and we'll head out, eats and beers on me, sir. I would love to meet you and have a great chat. So the offer's on the table from Vaughn.
Hey, that's excellent. Yeah, I'll reach out to Phil when I'm down and around there, and for sure, for
You
sure.
got it.
Let me know if you want
Appreciate your love and support of Space Out Radio as well, Vaughn. Yeah, Travis, I don't know if you were able to catch the Well, we had a pretty long conversation, but there was a part of the conversation that we had earlier tonight with the guest. Excuse me, and it just goes into what we've already always talked about. Where our guest tonight, Mr. Carroll, was talking about folklore being very important to the conversation and kind of aligning our thoughts on what the phenomena is with folklore in the words from the natives. And I'm like, yeah, that's the key. I don't know if you got a chance to hear that part of the conversation, but I know you agree with it. I was just going to ask you, what did you think about his outlook on that? If you had a chance to see that.
I'm sorry. I was just getting I was like at work when the conversation was on, and then I was just getting home off work when you guys were just kind of like getting around to hour two or hour in that last
Mm-hmm.
hour two there. But
And I don't even remember when we talked about it, but I just when he said it, I thought about the conversations that we have about exactly that, and it just the more I hear people out there kind of pointing to that, I mean it's like it's totally the thing that we should be doing, and it was just kind of cool that he brought that up, and it just made me think about you. I was like, we're gonna have Travis on later. It'd have been cool for him to be a part of this conversation we're having right now, but yeah, I mean, it just further goes in and kind of paints that picture that we've already talked about. With the stories that have been told over the years. Some people on the outside look at those as only stories, but then when you start to unravel, the phenomenon, what it is, and then you align that with the stories that you hear from the natives, it just makes a lot of sense that we're probably talking about the same thing, and this is probably the best place for you to look for answers as far as what it is that you're talking about. But I know you're on the inside, so I know how you feel about that. But it was just cool for to hear him bring that up, because I think a lot of people should feel that way out there. I think a lot more people, and it just for him to be someone I hadn't met before, talking to for the first time, it was just kind of cool to hear that that's also what he thinks about it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, I can only agree. Like so for me, like you said, being on the inside when I started, like because I heard the tales and I heard the legends, like throughout time, and it's really nice when I look through other like world histories, or I look at the murals or paintings of these legends and myths from these other parts of the world, and I start to see similar kind of characteristics of these mystical beasts, and that would have like that would have never had contact or that information go across, like at the time, in the ancient times. So it's just like when I look and I think of, like, for example, the thunderbird, and we say thunderbird nowadays, but it was never known really as a thunderbird, like as a bird. It was just considered because it was a winged spirit, right? Winged being that flew around this, like, in the sky, and it never landed. It was like a prehistoric beast that didn't quite fit in with an eagle, didn't quite fit in with any kind of other animal out there. It was this, like, it was like a prehistoric being from the ancient world that survived the cataclysms throughout the decades or thousands of years, I should say. And then also too, the thing that our people always described was it would bring the rain, and that was like a lot of things. Like, it was always bringing rain, and whenever it flapped its wings, the thunder would come, and that's like because it was causing that friction, that electricity in the air, right? So it was just like bringing these storms wherever it flew, and clouds, and it just makes me feel good inside, because then I start to see some of these similarities from other cultures around the world, and then this helps me confirm that it was a real being, and it was a real thing that flew around, because these other cultures seen it that would have never have had contact or were able to share that story, like Australian people with the rainbow surfing, which is also a large dragon-like serpent in the sky that would carry the rain and thunder. And then you go up to Japan, and Japan has a rain lightning dragon as well too, and that brought water and rain as well. And it's just kind of like this dragon's always is always associated with lightning and water, and so I was always that's what made me fascinated by it. And it kind of makes me a little heartfelt about it, but yeah, like it just because it gives that clarity and clarification of how real these things were, and they were around, and the ancient people seen it, and they documented it like that in that way. And when you hear that confirmation from other parts of the world and world religion, actually not religion, but traditions and their histories, right? So it's like it's makes it all more real for me.
Yeah, and I think hopefully what I would love to see is that is the is that part of the conversation happening on the world stage. So yeah, we realize that the importance of the native story compared to what is currently going on in the current day, but it'd be nice to hear the people at those higher levels kind of realize that too. And it'll be interesting to see the day that that becomes part of that conversation, because then it's like a legend, right? It's like the test with the answers, right? So you have the answers at this point, and you can kind of cross reference the correct answer with what your theory was, right? And so on that larger stage, when the native story is brought into that, it's a cheat sheet. You know what I mean? You kind of just be like, okay, this is what the natives have said. This is what we think. This makes sense. Let's kind of meet in the middle on that and kind of get an idea of where we're going. To the audience, real quick, I did lower my volume to try to match Travis's. Is it doing okay? Just let me know if I don't need to do any more adjustment on that. Are we good? Thumbs
I am
up.
a different web browser than Chrome, but let me know. Maybe I could switch.
No, you know what it is? No, it's just because I'm using like a condenser mic, and so my voice is like right there at you, and then you're using the device mic, so it's just a difference there, but it should be okay. I lowered mines, and we should be a lot more good, but no one's telling me. So you guys told me when my volume was too high, but now I'm asking you if it's level, and you guys won't even answer me. What's going on with that? Okay. Thank you, Tomoth Bad. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I did want to ask you about this though, Travis, because part of the conversation that we had tonight, a lot of it, Dr. Carroll gets into demonology, and, not necessarily saying that the entire phenomena is demonic, but that there are some elements of it that are demonic versus some that are not. How is that looked at from the native perspective? I know there's some of that going on in there as far as the perspective goes, that some of this is bad, some is good. But, I think and I'm for sure, based on the conversation, that he's, referring to demonic through the religious, view. So how does that kind of tune in or tie into the way the natives perceive it?
Yeah, they're definitely. It's like a definitely it's a reverse energy field that's like I said, very dark entity, dark force entry, like orientated, and that's kind of like their like they'll practice that kind of like dark rituals and dark side of things, right? Um, there'll be people that will fool like others and trick them, like saying like they're healers, and kind of like and just kind of keep people, like they won't heal them, but they'll keep they'll keep them sick, so they keep going back to them and different things. Like they're kind of like there's some people like that you can't trust out there. But like as for like dark spirits and dark entities and dark like I said, that's there's all sorts of kind of like beings and evil creatures and things like that on that level. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah. So, like I said, it's like it's unwinding or unpeeling an onion, and like the further we go along, even since like the first week uh, that you started coming on here, and then having additional conversations with other guests throughout the weeks, these same questions come up. And, it's just cool to be able to hear those questions answered or just hear the perspective of different people in relation to the same question as we go. And then I always bring it up to you right after we have the conversation. And it's just, I think, a good way to kind of see how everyone feels about the specific thing and then kind of trying to calibrate it to because you have the insight obviously to calibrate it with what the native perspective is, and I think that's just a good thing to be able to do. So Susan Place wants you to know that you look good in the tank top, man. So you over there flexing, man. She said you look good in the tank top.
oh, that's hilarious. I was just gonna say though, about what I was saying was like, so a lot of that dark force energy and like energy is like, as I was saying before on Dave Scott there the other Tuesday, it's all the same. Like it's the one universe, but there's a balance. Like there's a lighter, a higher frequency, and then there's a lower, darker frequency. And like I said, that balance is there in between, and it's like how people are connecting and they're making these connections. Usually, people though that make the lower connection, vibrational connection, energy field, it's a very dark path for them, and it usually doesn't pan out well. Like they end up having like they'll cause chaos and they'll practice dark rituals and things, but like they'll have to keep doing that, or else they'll like it will like consume them, I should say. And like people don't usually last too long when they do that kind of work or energy work or anything like that. It's just not natural for the human being to flow that way, because it's a reverse energy, right? And as human beings, we have that choice to, we can flow, and we can do that energy, right? We flow with the universe, but as our energy points look from our perspective, is that we're antennas, and we're bringing we're attracting this energy, and through our, like, the vortex on the top of our head, and also enveloping through our body, right? It's like through all of our chakra points and our energy points, and but like I said, into our spirit. And so like when we're connecting with these beings and this light of the universe, and that's where we're connecting with, is that universal light, and that balance and that frequency, and that elevation of that vibrational frequency. And that's how you connect with a lot of those beings of light. And a lot of it is a lot of shadow work too. Like a lot of your like before I was able to do a lot of these like big adventures and things like that. Like I had to do a lot of my own ceremonial work and things, like to work on my own traumas and past lives and histories and different kind of things and that I've endured throughout my time. And I wasn't expecting it, but it came at me in the most like interesting way. Like the way it happened was like, I was like in a dream, and I was told I was going to be getting these visions in my dreams. Like I was going to be told something, or I was going to be getting a lot of information. And I thought so what ended up happening was my uncle had passed away the previous year. And he was a very big mentor and teacher of these ways to me. So I figured he was like, the way the dream happened was, I was all of a sudden, it was a bright day, and I was just outside of his sweat lodge, and the ceremony was already on, and I heard him in there singing. And I was like, okay, so this is the dream. I'm going to go and learn something in there. And so I walked in there, and I sat down, and then all of a sudden the sweat lodge just closed on its own. And then I was just black. It was dark black in there, pitch black. And all of a sudden I just heard my dark self calling out to me. And I just knew, I was like, okay, yeah, this is like, myself is coming to kill me. This is how he's trapped me. He's like, you're not going to escape from this like dark orb ball that he had me in. It was like a force like around. It was going to try to crush me in there. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to get out. So I started like creating my own energy ball, and it just like the light just broke that darkness, just and all of a sudden I just seen that the ground just kind of open up, and that like dark force version of me just kind of went crawling back down into the darker astral world. And that was the pain body. That was like all my traumas and things in life that happened to me throughout my days and past lives. And then I was going to go after it and finish it off, so it never came back, right? And that's when I heard my uncle say, "Hey, no, you did good. You won't come back. Like, you did good." And that's how I knew it was him, because I didn't see him, but I heard his voice in my head, like as clear as day. And but like, so like what I'm saying is, like, when people start to awaken and start to have these things, you should be really self-aware that like your own dark self is going to come for you, and you got to deal with that in that sense too. And and everybody has to do that work in that sense, and and everybody has that version that they have to deal with.
Yeah, and it makes me. I mean, I know I have. Let me tag that question. I got that question, Van Love. I asked him just a second. I think it's, and there ends up being an envy, right? Because you know, for someone who understands that the native word is likely the correct word when it comes to pretty much a lot of things in life, and then for you to be able to fall back on the elders, right, to get that, to kind of check your thought process, to kind of run it by the elders to find out what they think about, like you have that advantage to do so. And that's in my family, we have a couple of different native lines in our heritage. And what I want to do this year, I have a list of things I want to do, right? I want to do the CE5 thing, but and it may not be this year. It may be over the next couple years. But I'm going to make it a point to go back into my history, and I want to document this happening and reconnect, right, with the tribes that I come from. You know what I mean? And kind of, because I would love to be able to get to the point to where I could sit down and pick the brain of the elders, right? I want to get there, and I have a path to do so. I just have to take those steps to do it. And the more I hear you speak about it, I'm like, man, I wish I had that sort of access to be able to get to ask those questions and get those like really enlightened answers. So I think I probably speak for a lot of people who'd be envious of that, man. But you have it. You have a really good thing. Just so you're on the inside. So I don't know if you see it that same way, but you have it really, really good when it comes to being able to question things and kind of go through the paces to figure out what this life is really about. So, congratulations to you for that, for having that. It's a beautiful thing, and yeah, I'm gonna make it my mission to take that path, because I would love to be able to reconnect with the tribe that I'm from and be able to ask those same questions. You know what I mean?
I've been very fortunate. Like you're right, it is a blessing, and I'm truly grateful for. And one I'm truly grateful for. It's all been through a time in the universe, like these moments when I've had the chance to speak to these elders, or elders who are open to share these stories or experiences with me. It's always came at a time when it was just like it was meant to be, or meant to happen in that moment, or the teaching was meant to happen there, or like the things from like a mystical plant being where it shouldn't be growing, so I can like learn that plant, right? Like things like that, like
Yeah.
and then from them recognizing some of my like some of the aliens that I have on my, like like some of the beaded aliens I usually wear. There was a few elders that came up to me and were like talking to me about it. They're like, one man's like, "So did you get picked up yet?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "So you seen the ships?" He's like, "Which ones did you see?" And then I told him what ones I seen. He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, I spent a few months with Graves when I was young," and he told me all these like real awesome things. And then there was another man who came up and he seen the alien I had on, and he's like, "Yeah, I experienced that. I experienced those guys before, and I've hurt those people before." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, and those alligator." alligator people. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's hear that, you know. And he said he lived with one and a lady, and yeah, yeah, it's a wild story. It's like a modern day. Like he grew up in the mission, so when he was taken away from his family when he was a young child, like he was a young man, like a young kid, and then he grew up to be a young man in the residential school because when he was taken away, his parents had got sick over that year and during the winter, and they died, and so he had nowhere to go, and then he ended up just living there until he was like 16 years old. So he went through some pretty traumatic things that happened to him there, and told me a lot of that stuff, like some of the things that he bore witness to and atrocities and things. And but aside from all that, they kicked him out, and he had nowhere to go. He couldn't just return back to where he lived or anything like that. So he ended up just taking off to the city, and he lived in the Edmonton streets for like a good number of years. And then finally, he met this lady who was like, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" And took interest in him. And then he decided to start living with her, and sure enough, like you know, they started seeing each other, and he said one night when she was like, like making love to him, he was like looking in her eyes, and he said that's when her eyes switched, like they switched, and they looked like alligator eyes. That's what he said. And then he said they had a child, and this child was he said it had little bumps on the arms and the back and the neck and down the legs, and he said that child was always had to wear a sweater to hide its scales. And yeah, he said it stayed home. It didn't go to he didn't put in school or anything. It was real hard to raise them because they live like reptiles, he said. So he got kind of sick dealing with the feces and things like that, cleaning up after these kids, and he said he got sick, and he went to the hospital, and then he came back, and that lady was gone with the kid, and but it was like a few years or something like that, and he said he was looking around for her and couldn't find her, but he said he thought he'd seen her again, and she had another kid, but he said he wasn't too sure, but he was like, but if that was his kid, then you know what I mean, then she had two, she was able to keep the sperm or whatever he said, and all these things. Like it was like real wild. Like he had like it was like a really interesting tale about it, but it was like a modern day, like she lived in she like amongst us, like this reptilian lady, alligator lady, you like to call her, right? But I knew what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild right there. I want to speak about how many women I've probably seen that probably had eyes that turned into reptile eyes. I mean, that could be we can go down a rabbit hole with that one. But I had a couple questions for you. Paranormal Pixie Laura wanted to know. She wanted to ask Travis how the kitty is doing. And now your cat has become a star.
Yeah, give me a second here.
Okay, I think we have a kitty showing here. Let's see what we have
So
here.
he's in the other room, and I don't know what he's up to.
Okay.
He's running around. Oh yeah, you can hear him. He's running around. He's doing good though.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of cat fans in this audience here because of Blob. Blob is a star here too. So um, let's see. We also had Van Gold asking you, where is this Asheville you speak of?
Asheville.
Yeah, maybe you didn't say Asheville. Maybe it sounded like Asheville.
Maybe it sounded like that. Interesting.
Yeah. She's in North Carolina, so I think that's why she's bringing that up. Okay. So we have SG Nav Spotter asking, saying, past natives speaking vowels, do you think we still bring upon these aliens a closer communication in our times of our language we speak today?
It's very interesting. The more I've experienced a lot of these, it seems like they've been able to even like it's very universal. Like they've been able to really communicate with me, and I've been able to telepathically speak with them. But like at times, like I couldn't, like, there were times like I couldn't understand some of them when I was around, but I trust the energy, and that also worked with that. Um, but there, as I slowly started getting more like elevated in my vibrational frequency, I started to be able to understand a lot more of them and actually connect with them. And through the energies, a lot of times the visions would take place in mind telepathic communication, like visuals, and they would be like, they would change their form, like they'd look like an alien here, but then in our like our minds telepathic communication, it's like our minds communication, it's like he's like looking like me, or like looking like a human with a suit on or a different kind of thing, and he's like, just like, I just wanted to look more like so you'd feel more comfortable with me, and I'd be able to speak with you on your level, and like like they were able to kind of meet me on that sense. And then another interesting thing too with the Pleiadians is they have all these like interesting wrist communication devices that help translate a lot of the stuff too, and that's also a part about that, right? Is like they have a lot of interesting tech that allows you to speak. But in terms of like spiritual natives, or spiritual like spirituality and natives connection, like with spirituality, we prefer to say like we'll speak to them in a native Cree language as much as we can, because like I said, that language was given to us from the Star Nation, right? So it's like, it's just a respect kind of thing. But you can pray and speak to them with English, and they're fully capable of understanding. And same thing with like universe and all that. It's very, very much capable of understanding. It's just that it's almost like a connection through the words and through that energy, right, of the words, what they carry. And I think that's like the most key thing is like, if you're speaking English, it's like, what are your intentions with those words, and understanding those words, right? What you're saying. So I think that's the best way I can answer that.
All right. And want to go ahead and get your information put up here. Travis' channel is here, youtube.com/at Blue Lightning Cards. So we got to go check out Travis if you haven't done so. And go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to say Blue Lightning Cards on YouTube and also on TikTok. I've also got Planetary Wisdom on YouTube, which is a music channel. I do funny kind of folk music and like guitar. I made a classical album. I plan to release more this year. That's why I'm kind of bringing it up again. As for everything else, like my name, Travis Willier, and under books category, you can find the Pleiadian Who Stole Me in My Heart, or Pleiadian Guidance, or Fort Sunder. They're all available there. Check it out.
Yes, definitely do so. Check Travis out. And here's the thing that keeps throwing me, Travis, because I'm like, I know the Blue Lightning Cards, but I caught myself doing this because I rewatched one of the shows. And when I'm doing the show and and I bring up the names, I can barely see the little picture. So I sat there and I called out your channel. It was Assault Rifle Omen, right? And I'm like, oh, hey, Assault Rifle Omen. Hey, if you're new here, I do appreciate you coming on in. And then when I rewatched the show later, I could see it on the big screen TV. I'm like, that's Travis, dude. So I just welcome Travis for being in there. I'm like, dude, let me get these names together. So now I know it's Assault Rifle Omen. Is that a separate channel or what is that?
So that's actually my gaming profile account for when I'm online gaming and playing.
Okay.
But what it has turned into is it's a Twitch channel, and I do live readings there. Like I'll do 7 hours of uncut raw, like just footage of me just sitting there live doing tarot readings, and I've done probably about over 400 readings since the beginning of this year. It's been excellent. Like I've like 400 new subscribers since the beginning of the year, and it's been fun, man. Like I have like 4,000 some followers on Twitch, and like I said, it's a fun community. Great people. I met other very talented card readers and spiritual advocates, and it's been an excellent time.
Man, okay. So the Blue Lightning Cards on YouTube and Twitch and TikTok, and then the Twitch is the Assault Rifle Omen.
Yeah, Twitch is Assault Rifle Omen. Yeah,
okay.
And then Assault Rifle Omen as well.
Okay, so you guys, the man with multiple names, the man wearing multiple hats, Mr. Travis Moostus. Travis, I do appreciate you coming on in and joining us, man, on this Sunday. It's awesome as always. And we will link this thing up again. Maybe we can do this again next week. Let's talk about it. And yeah, you have a great rest of your day. Anything you want to say to the audience on your way out?
Oh, thank you all for supporting the work and the artistic vision of the books, and thank you so much for supporting all of us out here at Spaced Out Radio and tuning in and watching us here. And it's a pleasure that I get to share this information with all of you, and truly a blessing. And you guys truly make the show. Oh, Kitty's here to say hello, and thank you so much. And I will be checking you guys out in the future here. I've been just like I said, busy with everything, so. I'm looking forward to our next chat, and yeah, thanks for having me on again there, Rob. And thanks
as always. Nah, you're awesome, dude. Wealth of knowledge, and yeah, I'm just so glad to be able to talk to you about it, man. So we'll talk again, and I gotta maybe get with you on some of the card stuff, and then definitely as I'm on this journey to reconnect with my own tribe. I'll just bounce things off you as I go. I'm sure I'll have a bunch of questions. So, we will be doing a lot of work together, and we will be talking a lot this year, Travis. So, appreciate you once again coming on in.
I'm looking forward to it. And yes, reach out, and thanks for having me on. And you take care tonight. Yeah.
I will. I will. See you soon, man. Thanks for coming in. Take care, bro. All right. Always a great time with my guy Travis, man. I mean, it's always a great time. You guys go and check out his YouTube channel, Blue Lightning Cards, if you haven't already done so. And then he said also Blue Lightning Cards on TikTok. And then Twitch, Assault Rifle Omen, which I didn't know that was him until I rewatched the show. So now I'm gonna have to go over there. I just set up my own Twitch because I told Little Cam 51 I would do so. So I definitely did that. And so now I'm on Twitch. And I will have to mosey on over and check Travis out and maybe get a reading or something like that. Sounds pretty awesome. I don't know, though. How do you feel about readings, right? I've often been, at least palm reading, right? At least as far as palm reading goes. Let me now readjust my mic. Okay, this is back up to my normal level. All right, so palm reading is one of the things that I looked at and I wasn't too sure about because in a lot of cases, yeah, right. So your lifeline and all that good stuff. And sometimes you get bad news, right? So it's like, I would be okay if the news wasn't going to be bad, but then I would be empowered by that news as well, and it would probably put me in a position to push harder than I might be pushing right now, right? So I could see both sides to it, but that's the only thing the only setback that I have when it comes to being read. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe I'll come by and watch some readings initially, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Look, now Magneticus is like, lower your volume, Rob. LOL. This is my normal volume, man. Lower your volume, Magneticus. How about that? Maybe your volume's too loud. Yeah, Christine says, that's true, Rob. That's true, Rob. See, everyone has got adjusted to the lower volume. So, but this is the normal show volume right here, just so you know. Yeah, Christine says she want to know good or bad. Yeah, I mean, I could see that, right? I mean, it makes sense, but who wants to get the bad news though? You can get over it, right? You can. Mic is a little high. See, I think this comes down to perception, right? Because This was the interview volume that I had with our guest earlier. We were fine, didn't have any complaints. So I think we've now got adjusted to me lowering the volume for Travis, but you have to calibrate, right? Calibrate. This is the show volume. So calibrate your current volume to this volume because this is the show volume. So, and then we should be good to go. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. YouTube user says, some readers say the wrong things or the way they say it is not healthy, like doing a crime show. You just don't tell loved ones the victim was chopped up. Okay. Great analogy. Great analogy. I can understand that. Yeah. Yeah. Also depends on their interpretation. Okay, right. So the images or visuals that they may be seeing as far as how they translate or perceive those and translate them to, I could understand that too. That makes sense as well. Castle Dude is in the building. Hey, Castle Dude. Saying sounds good, Rob. Thank you very much. And Magneticus says, Rob G, you are not spiking the meter. That's good. Okay. Blue Cruise has officially confirmed it. Your microphone volume sounds fine to me. All right. Like it. Maggie M10 says, nope. For me personally, I'm better off not knowing. And that's kind of the thing I fight with. Because it's like, yeah, I want the information if it's say, hey, what you're doing is going to really help move the needle and everything is going to turn out well and humanity is going to, be able to advance and all those great things I'd love to hear. But if the card said, yeah, these ETs are here to, but, I've obviously said that I would want to know in that aspect, but I guess it's a little more personal when it deals directly with you. You know what I mean? In your life, it's like, okay. Yeah. And, we definitely do. And I got something I could send them. It's all good. So I'll reach out to them and see. It just depends on, setup and those things. But I do have a mic that would work with the phone, actually. So it can link up with Travis. Let me see what else we got here. Paranormal Pixie Laura, someone who is a card reader, psychic, intuitive, and medium, you have to be discerning from both the client and reader's perspective. Okay, that's what we need. Castle Dude, you still waiting on the Rob G underpants? Good things come to those who wait. They're going to be awesome. I promise you. The Rob G t-shirts are out there too. Socks as well. The alien head ones. Those are pretty awesome. The logo you see right there, right? Get that logo on a t-shirt. I'm telling you. Would love to see you in Reno with that. And let me see, is there any more input here? I think we're looking all good here. Okay, yeah, so that's just some back and forth. So let me go ahead and run the commercials real quick because that's why we made them, and we should be showing these as often as we can. All right, we don't have ugly swag, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and check that out. We do not have ugly swag. Let's take a look.
Guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your S.O.R. swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today and make yourself look good. You love your woo, it's time to make a commitment to the 3rd annual S.O.R. Fan Party. This time, we're heading to Reno, Nevada and the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort, May 10th through 12th, 2024. Tickets are $60 or $100 for VIP. With that, you get a free radio show, you get to hang out with celebrity guests from Spaced Out Radio, including our team, who are coming to hang out with you. You get to meet the entire team, like Science Bob, Merle, Melinda Leslie, Geraldina Roscoe, and more. It's a weekend packed with adventure, and we want you there. After all, we're doing this for you. Find out more and get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com and book your hotels today at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada. Come join us for the S.O.R. Fan Party, May 10th through 12th, 2024.
Yes, hope to see you there. Please be there. Would love to see you there, and would love to see you there in the Rob G. Alien Head T. I would just love to do that, and that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I should definitely have mines. I should be rocking mines for sure. And Tony D, shout out to you, saying hello, everyone. Just would like to say I listened to your show from Saturday night, and the music in the break was great. Thanks, sweet Robbie G. No problem at all. I had to pick something other than what we had because we were getting hit on copyright strikes. So I said, it's a time for me to pick some things that reflect things that I might listen to, right? So that's what you get on those commercial breaks. You get, I listen to all genres of music. So it's hip hop, it's rock, it's, even a little bit of country sometimes. I'm just a musician, period. And, I've always been open to all music, even techno. Believe me, if you saw my playlist, the playlist I have set up, you would be like, whoa. Right. So, yeah, I wanted the music to kind of reflect the kind of vibe that I like to have when I'm chilling or listening to music. And I think it did that. So I appreciate you, Tony D. Appreciate you supporting Spaced Out Radio. Appreciate you even leaving the comment, taking the time to do that. That was awesome. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and reach out and thank our super chatters for tonight. We had our guy Magneticus coming in with the numbers, and the guy is awesome, right? So Magneticus, Tesla's Theory 369, based on the concept of, and then your second super chat for 693, Tesla's Theory 369 is based on the concept of reducing any number to a single digit by adding together its individual digits. And then the third super chat of the night, don't meddle with things you don't understand. All wise words from the guy Magneticus. And then we had Vaughn come in with support, $10 Canadian. Travis, when you come down, contact Dirty Phil. And we'll head out, eat some burgers on me, sir. We'd love to meet you and have a great chat. And it sounds like he's up to doing that. So, Vaughn, thank you for your support of Spaced Out Radio. Definitely appreciate that. To all the space travelers out there, you are already a space traveler. Let's take the next step and join the club. That's right. For as little as $5 per month, you can join our Space Travelers Club by visiting our Patreon and signing up there. Outside of that, to all our viewers and listeners across the globe, thank you for coming in tonight and sharing your time with us and tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio. Because here at Spaced Out Radio, we do what we do best. And what is that, you ask? We own the night, guys. Do appreciate you coming in. Awesome show next weekend. Make sure you're back for the after hours next weekend. I booked a lot of different people. I can't remember who's coming up, but guaranteed it's going to be an awesome conversation because it always is. And then make sure you're here Monday through Friday for Dave Scott with the show, conducting the Woo Train, 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight, Monday through Friday. And then we'll see you right back here. We do own the night, guys. So talk to you in a minute. You guys take care.